Good evening, everybody. It is 6:01 p.m. and I'll declare this annual meeting of the electors of the town of Victoria Park is open. I'd like to begin with an acknowledgement of country. Nunjarapan Wajak Nunga Budja Yakan Nidja Bilya Barduk. I am honoured to be standing on Wajak Nunga country on the banks of the Swan River. Nan Kadach Nunga Mort Ken Kadak Nidja Wajak Nunga Budja. Nan Kadich Nidja Nunga Brudia Kora Yaye Border Balapan Mordich Nunga Kadajan Mort where Budja Yaye. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and respect past, present and emerging leaders, their continuing cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with the land, which continues to be important today. Nanyunka Balapan Nunga Brudia where Mort Nidja Budja. I thank them for the contribution made to life in the town of Victoria Park and to this region. Item 2 on our agenda is announcements from the presiding member. Welcome everyone to this annual meeting of electors. The annual meeting of electors is required to be held once every financial year for the purpose of discussing the annual report and any other general business. The role of the presiding person is to run the meeting in accordance with the order of proceedings, and the person who is presiding is entitled to move, second, speak to and vote on motions in their capacity as an elector. We do have a fair bit of information to provide to you, but I am going to divide that up so that you don't have to hear it all at once. The role of elected members of council, otherwise known to most of you as the mayor and councillors, is that they may attend these electors' meetings and they are able to move, second, speak to and vote on motions in their capacity as an elector if they choose to do so. The town of Victoria Park has a number of staff who are in attendance, and appropriate senior officers of the town may attend these electors' meetings for the purposes of providing information and assisting electors as required. And then there's most of you, the electors. An elector is a person who is eligible to be enrolled to vote in elections for the district. Now, for those of you who've been here over the last hour for our community mingle, you would have had the opportunity to speak to our council liaison officer who would have come around to take your name and your details. That's for the purpose of ascertaining if you are an elector of this district, because it is only electors of the district who are entitled to vote at these proceedings. So we do require you to sign that attendance register. If you have come into the chamber and you haven't spoken to our council liaison officer, just raise your hand at an appropriate moment if you can, and I'm going to send the council liaison officer around to the back of the room to grab some of your names and addresses to check them off on the list. All right, so it looks like people in the back row, so we'll just get that done now as we continue through. Electors' meetings are open to all members of the public. However, as I said, it is only electors who are able to vote, but equally it's only electors who can move a motion, second a motion, speak to a motion and vote on a motion. Electors may raise any motion that is related to the responsibilities and functions of local government, and in particular to this local government. Each elector who is present at this meeting is entitled to one vote, and it's one vote only on each matter to be decided, but there's no requirement upon you to vote. So if something comes up and you don't feel like you wish to vote on it, you don't have to. If something comes up and you do wish to vote, then you're welcome to do so. Any decisions that are made as a result of motions that are moved at tonight's meeting, they will be considered by this council at a future ordinary council meeting. Generally, we try to do that at the next council meeting after this meeting of electors. However, since the next ordinary council meeting is actually tomorrow night, we won't be considering the decisions that are made tonight at tomorrow night's ordinary council meeting, because it is a requirement that all of the decisions that are made tonight are referred to the town's administration for a report to be written in response to those motions. So in all likelihood, the motions that are passed, if there are any tonight, will be considered by council at the April ordinary council meeting in due course. And you'll be able to see the details of that in a separate report, which will be part of the agenda when it's released for April. I do need to cover recording of this meeting. So meetings of electors of the Town of Victoria Park held in these chambers under our policy are to be recorded and live streamed to the town's website in accordance with Regulation 14I of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996. Under Clause 39(1) of the Meeting Procedure Local Law for 2019, I have authorised the administration to be able to record this meeting, but I do not give permission for any other person who is present to make a recording of the proceedings of this meeting, whether it is by mobile phone or any other device. So we are currently live streaming, and there will be people who are watching this meeting as it happens, and there will be people who will be watching the recording of this meeting later. By being present at this meeting, members who are in the public gallery consent to the possibility that their image and voice may be live streamed to the public. Recordings of this meeting, as I say, are made and they are kept and made available on the town's website following the meeting, where they can be viewed at any time. The minutes that will be taken of tonight's electors meeting will record a summary of the meeting and the decisions made. It will not be a verbatim record. So I am aware that some people have asked about this in the past. There is no requirement under the Local Government Act for us to make a verbatim record about everything that is said by every person present. But there will be a summary of the record made, and of course the recording of the meeting, which is both audio and video, will be a complete recording of everything that is said at the meeting. So, as is my role for the presiding member under the Act of this meeting, I'm required to determine the procedures that will be followed. I've made a determination as to those procedures to be followed in the general business part of this meeting. Those matters are set out in the agenda for tonight's meeting, if you've had the opportunity to read the agenda. If you haven't, don't worry, I'll read them out when we get to general business. I'm not going to read them now because there's a reasonable bit of information there, but it's very important that you have the opportunity to hear those matters and hear them roughly around the time when we'll be going to general business. But I will say a couple of things. I have determined that this meeting will be conducted in line with the Town of Victoria Park's Meeting Procedures Local Law 2019, which governs the conduct of meetings. Where the Meeting Procedures Local Law has made no particular provision, the procedures are otherwise as determined by myself. There will be no adverse reflections by any elector at this meeting, and any elector who is addressing this meeting is to extend due courtesy and respect to the elected members, the Town of Victoria Park's employees, and other members of the community who are present tonight. And you will be required to comply with directions that I make as the presiding member. Should an elector reflect adversely on another person or not extend due respect to another person, I will consider ruling your question or your statement out of order, and such an elector may, if they're unable to rephrase, be asked to cease speaking and return to their seat. Questions, statements and motions that we will come to are to be limited to matters that are within the remit of the Town of Victoria Park under the local government legislation. So, item 3 on the agenda is attendance. As it appears, we have some members of the elected council who are sitting in the seats that are assigned to them during their normal council business. They all have name tags. They could have sat amongst you as they're also electors of the district, but they've decided to make space for all of you by taking their normal seats. We have a number of members of the town's executive and staff in attendance, led by the CEO, Mr. Askew, who sits to the left of me. We also have in attendance David Doy, the Chief Community Planner. We have Alison Lubicus, the Chief Operations Officer, and Duncan Old, who is the Chief Financial Officer. So respectively, Mr. Doy sits there, Ms. Lubicus and Mr. Old sit there. To my right is Mr. Douglas, who is the Manager of Governance and Strategy, and we have a number of members of the governance team who are here to assist the meeting. So on that basis, we now come to item 4, which is discussion about the contents of the annual report of the Town of Victoria Park for 2024-2025. So it's this document here. Anyone who is wishing to have a copy of it, their copies are available as I understand it for you. And if you want to see one later, you can always ask the town staff to get you a copy of that. So we are required to follow a fairly traditional process in order to deal with this business, which is the receiving of the annual report. There are 4 parts to this. The first is I'm required to provide a mayor's report, which will just be a quick summary. 4.2 on the agenda is for the Chief Executive Officer, who will provide a short report to you. 4.3 is the financial statements and our auditor's report, which will be provided by the Chief Financial Officer. And then we have a very short video to show you, which is highlights from our annual report. Once that's done, I'm going to be seeking a mover and a seconder for a motion to receive the annual report for 24-25. And once that business is concluded, we'll then move to general business, at which point in time electors will be invited, if they wish to do so, to ask questions and then make statements, and then we'll move to see if there are any motions. So that's the process that we're about to follow. So we move now to item 4 on the agenda. And I am going to deal with 4.1 first, which is the Mayor's report. So I do welcome everyone who is in attendance. I do have apologies from Deputy Mayor Miles and Councillor Anderson, both of whom are on council-approved leave of absence. In accordance with Section 5.27 of the Local Government Act 1995 and Regulation 15 of the Local Government Administration Regulations, this meeting is held once every financial year. It does consider the contents of the annual report, and it does then deal with other business. And I've already indicated that under the Act, it is the Mayor who is the presiding member at these meetings. On the 16th of December 2025, the Office of the Auditor General discussed the results of the external financial audit for the town for the financial year ending 30 June 2025 with our Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, and they subsequently accepted the audited financial statements and the annual report for presentation to Council in due course. At special council meetings held on 3 February and 10 March 2025, Council accepted the annual report and the audited financial statements, which are what we present to you tonight. On behalf of Council, I am pleased to present the Town of Victoria Park's annual report for the financial year ended 30 June 2025. It showcases the significant services the town provides and the projects the town has delivered to help make our community a dynamic place for everyone. The annual report includes the town's audited financial statements, and I am pleased that the town has received an unqualified audit opinion from the Auditor General, as indeed it has done every year since the town commenced. And congratulations go to the Chief Financial Officer and the town's team who work with him in the Finance Department for preparing all of the paperwork for our audit. I only wish to mention some of the highlights from the financial year 24-25 that many of you will perhaps be familiar with. Firstly, the Edward Millen Precinct redevelopment. Works commenced in late 2024 and early 2025 on this major project, which covered the restoration of the heritage buildings and an upgrade of the park respectively. In 2025, I'm pleased that Council renamed Edward Millen House and Park in honour of Elizabeth Bailey, the woman who founded the original building as the first maternity hospital in Western Australia, known as the Rotunda Maternity Hospital, which opened in 1912. And our renaming of the house and park in her honour is a fitting tribute and acknowledgement of her contributions to healthcare services in Western Australia. The McCallum Park Active Zone works also commenced on this significant capital project, which introduced a brand new skate plaza, bike pump track and new basketball courts. The works commenced before 30 June 2025 but were subsequently completed after that date. Two other significant decisions that Council made that impact on something that is relevant to every householder in the town of Victoria Park is waste management. Council entered into two significant contracts in this particular financial year that changed the nature of our waste collection services. Firstly was the contract to replace a regular bulk verge collection for both hard waste and green waste, with a new on-demand collection service known as Verge Valet. That was to commence after 30 June 2025, and indeed that service has now commenced. And the other was the awarding of a contract by Council for the collection of FOGO services within the town. So previously we had rolled out garden organics bins, but in approximately April 2025, Council decided that we would commence FOGO services, and a contract was awarded that would start later in the year. And in terms of strategic planning, Council endorsed two major new planning frameworks with the Albany Highway Precinct Structure Plan and the Oat Street Station Precinct Plan. These are significant roadmaps forward for how we will accommodate new residential growth and, of course, the development of mixed use within the town to meet both our residential infill targets, but also to see the town mature as the years go by. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all those passionate members of our community who dedicate their time to improving life in our town through participating in our various advisory and working groups, and our independent audit and risk committee members. Each of them help advise and guide Council in its decisions. Your contributions to our work on Council and to our community at large are invaluable, and we sincerely thank all of those people for their efforts. On behalf of Council, I'd like to extend our thanks to the CEO, the Executive and the staff of the Town of Victoria Park for their commitment and their hard work in delivering the results that are outlined in this annual report for the benefit of all of our community. And finally, I wish to personally thank my Council colleagues, both past and present, as we had some of them retire after 30 June 2025, for their commitment and support in providing effective representation for our community and good governance for the town. So thank you. That concludes the Mayor's report. I'll now go to the Chief Executive Officer for his report. Mr Askew.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon, and good evening, councillors and members of our Vic Park community. It's my pleasure to present my first full year report as Chief Executive Officer. Our focus in 24-25 has been very much to deliver on our commitments and to strengthen our local partnerships and to continue building a thriving and connected and sustainable Vic Park. A strong, safe and inclusive community sits at the heart of everything we do, and we've continued with several initiatives designed to empower residents and build local connections, including programs like our CCTV funding and our street meet and greet initiatives and our security incentive scheme as well. A healthy local economy is also essential for our long-term prosperity, and we have supported businesses throughout through destination marketing campaigns, networking events, training such as the Curtin Ignition program, and also the delivery of economic development grants to allow local innovation and also to celebrate with our business community, especially through our Business Awards Gala. Protecting our environment continues to be the cornerstone of all town strategies, and through the Leafy Streets program and the Urban Forest initiatives, we planted over 800 street trees and 20,000 endemic plants during the year. Community planting days, partnerships with local community groups has deepened local stewardship and strengthened environmental outcomes. In 2024, we also continue to invest in improving our parks, our reserves and our local infrastructure. And upgrades included landscaping enhancements, lighting audits and new master plans for our key open spaces. Our Capital Works program also delivered tangible results, from the new Fletcher Park playground fence to the Fraser Park floodlighting upgrades to the resurfacing of more than 3 kilometres of our local roads. We've done drainage improvements, we've done clubroom upgrades, we've done streetscape enhancements, and they've all contributed to a much better quality of life for residents. Making it easier and safer for people to move around Vic Park has also remained a priority, and we've completed protected bike lanes, we've delivered intersection safety upgrades, and we've established our integrated transport working group to guide future investment and future planning. In addition, through advocacy, we've continued to have a key role as a local government, and over that, the previous year, we have advocated strongly for improved public realm upgrades, for urban forest programs and for sustainable transport infrastructure, including taking clear positions on issues such as the Burswood Motorplex and supporting the Rutland Avenue bike path and championing the restoration of the Kent Street Soundpit. We've also continued our involvement in both the South East Corridor Councils Alliance and the Perth Inner City Group. Internally, we've focused on strengthening our capability and our culture. We've adopted a new workplace industrial agreement. We've implemented a cultural optimisation strategy, and we've done a full brand review, which contributes to an effective and engaged organisation. Looking back, the year has been one of considerable progress, and we've laid down some strong foundations, but it is clear there is more to do, and we will continue to focus on project delivery, on championing sustainability, and on nurturing that unique character that is Vic Park. I would like to sincerely thank the Mayor, the councillors, the town's executive, and our dedicated staff, as well as the community, for their leadership, for their support, and for their contributions throughout the year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. CEO. I'm now going to invite the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Auld, to do a presentation on the financial statements and the auditor's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to present the audited financial statements as included in the annual report for the year ending 30 June 2025. The financial statements and supporting notes contained with the annual report are in accordance with the relevant Australian accounting standards, the Local Government Act 1995, and associated regulations to present fairly the position of the town of Victoria Park. As a brief summary of the financial statements, the following observations are made. Rates revenue of $53.06 million was levied across 18,261 rateable assessments. Overall, loan principal owing reduced by $3 million from $9.4 million to $6.4 million, and a large proportion of this debt relates to previous underground power projects. The only class of asset that underwent a revaluation this year was the drainage network. The financial statements as presented were independently audited by the Office of the Auditor General, a state government agency, and in their opinion, the annual financial report is based on proper accounts and records, presents fairly in all material respects the results of the operations of the town for the year ending 30 June 2025 and its financial position at the end of that period, and in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995, and to the extent that they are not inconsistent with the Act, the Australian accounting standards. As per the auditor's report, attention is drawn to note 30 in the financial report, which states that the amounts reported in the previously issued 30 June 2024 financial report have been restated and disclosed as comparators in this financial report. However, the auditor's opinion is not modified in respect of this matter. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Auld. And now we have a short video presentation, which is the highlights from the annual report. So I think Mr. Dunlop, that's going to be presented and played shortly. Is that right? Yes?
I think so.
All right. We're ready for that when it goes. All right. Thank you to those who are involved in putting together that compilation video. So now I do have slight departure from what was prepared in my Mayor's agenda, because I do note that we do have on our list notification that at least one person has some questions about the annual report. So before I move the motion for the receipt of the annual report, I will ask, apart from me receiving notification that we do have someone who wishes to ask questions about the annual report, apart from Mr. Maxwell, are there any other people who have questions about the annual report that they wish to ask? It's not one that you have to have questions about, but I just wanted to gauge how long the exercise might take. So that's all right. So what I'm going to do is invite questions about the annual report before I call for a mover and seconder for the receipt of the annual report. So, Mr. Maxwell, looks like it's just you. If you could come forward, and for everyone else who wants to come forward in due course and ask questions or make statements, the protocol under our meeting procedures, local law, is that you need to give your name and your suburb, so we have those details on the record. So, Mr. Maxwell, if you could just give us your name and suburb, please, then we'll look forward to hearing your questions.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Vince Maxwell from Victoria Park.
Thank you. For the purposes of this meeting, I've made a determination that each elector is to have 4 questions to ask. So if you could deal with that limitation for your questions, we'll see how we get through it.
I might actually have 5 of that, but anyway, first one is just really to do with procedural stuff, because I just note that the council approved the annual report on the 3rd of February. And then again on the 3rd of March, the council approved another version of the annual report. And so I just wonder if you can explain why the annual report was approved twice and why there was no revocation motion, as is normally the case under Clause 525 and Regulation 10 of the Local Government Act when you change a previous decision of a council.
All right, so I'm going to refer the question of why we had a second meeting with regards to the annual report to the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Old.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first special council meeting held on the 3rd of February, if I recall that date correctly, had the correct annual financial report as the agenda item. The annual report as a total had, unfortunately, had last year's annual financial report attached to it as an administration error. We had placed that there just for editing purposes, just to be able to compile the report, which we did for the Audit and Risk Committee the previous year. That was just an administrative oversight to attach the correct one. So at that meeting, the statutory requirement to publicly advertise and set a date for the annual electors meeting was also set, which is this meeting here. Upon noticing that administration error, because the annual report is not being rescinded, just being corrected, that's my understanding from a governance point of view, the correct financial report was attached to the text part of the annual report and corrected.
And I'll go to the Manager of Governance to explain that final part of your procedural question, Mr. Maxwell, about why there was no revocation motion. Mr. Douglas.
We consider that the issue can be dealt with in accordance with Section 5.251E of the Local Government Act, together with Regulation 10 of the Local Government Administration Regulations, 1996, by Council agreeing to change the decision dated 3 February 2026.
So that's the procedural question, Mr. Maxwell.
Okay.
Do you want to move to your substantive ones now?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I'm a bit curious about that because it doesn't say anything like that in the regulation, but I'll go on to my second question.
Well, as you know, Mr. Maxwell, we don't do debate when it comes to questions.
Yes,
so if
but
you can
we'd
just
like to have
ask,
correct
if you
answers
can just ask the questions. If you want to ask a follow-up question that's related to that, you're welcome to do so.
Well, see, I'm having limited questions. It's a bit difficult to do that, but I'll follow that up with him later. On page 72 of the annual report, it shows that $11 million less was taken from the reserve accounts and $16.5 million added to the reserve accounts more than was compared to the budget. And combining these means $27.5 million. And in addition to another $5.8 million increase in cash, as shown on page 90. So there's more than 33 million added to the town's bank accounts in just 1 year. So why was this substantial amount of money collected in rates? It's more than half the rates. Why was that not spent as per the budget?
So, Mr Maxwell, I just want to get clear, you're referring to page 72, is that right?
So page 72 shows the movements in the reserve accounts over and above what was budgeted, and page 90 shows the movements in cash on hand over and above the budget.
Thank you for the clarification. I'm going to refer that question to the Chief Financial Officer, Mr Auld. Thank you.
Mayor, just for clarification, I'm assuming referring to note 29 of the reserve accounts as opposed to page 72 of the annual report. We have two numberings. We've got the financial report and the total report. So I assume that's correct. You're referring to note 29.
Well, I will go back to Mr Maxwell, but he did give me page 72 and he did refer to the movement in the reserve account and then page 90 for the movement in the cash account above budget. So I was trying to note that down so I could look through them. But Mr Maxwell, you've heard what the Chief Financial Officer mentioned with regards to the notes to the financial accounts. Were you referring to the notes to the financial account?
I was talking to the page numbers. I was talking about page numbers.
So it is to the page numbers. So 72, you're looking at the that's the movement in the surplus or deficit on the second part of the column that you're referring to. So just let the CFO get to that page. So that's the one I'm looking at. And
I'll just grab a copy of the annual report because I don't have it here and my copy's a bit small to read. So.
Sorry.
If someone's got one.
Just ask the council liaison officer, can you access a hard copy and give that to... Oh, thanks, Councillor Minson.
Thank you.
And on page 90, that's actually made up of note 13 to the financial statements, which is called other liabilities. And so that's the one that you're wanting to refer to. Is that right, Mr Maxwell?
Hang on a second.
So I'm not sure that page 90 is the one that you want because
my
that's...
bad. Page 99 is the one for the cash.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right. So 99 for the movements in cash above the budget. Yep. Mr CFO, do you have the clarification that you need?
To be honest, I think I'll take that on notice, referring to a couple of different notes, and to give a proper response, I'll have to just investigate a little bit further.
All right, so I'll have to take that on notice, Mr Maxwell. What's your next question?
Okay. Last year's audit, as you mentioned, beginning was this year's audit and previous audits were unqualified by the auditor. Why then did this year's auditor need to make so many changes to the already unqualified audit for the previous year? Some of those changes in excess of $4 million.
Mr Auld, I'm going to go to you.
Through you, Mayor, I'm assuming there's just reference to note 30, the correction of the error, so I don't quite know where the $4 million come from. That was
sorry, before you go any further on your answer, Mr Auld, Mr Maxwell, you're referring to the matters where there was a restatement that resulted in the auditors, those figures from the previous year were then restated, but that didn't change the auditor's opinion. Is that the matter you're referring to or something completely different?
On page 110, there's a big column full of adjustments. And the first one is $4.7 million. The next one, $3.5 million. The next one, $1.2 million. So that's where the big numbers came from.
Yep, so that is the correction of the error. So, Mr Auld?
Thank you, Mayor, for that clarification. All of those amounts are non-cash. They relate to the town's long-standing investment and return in Tamala Park and in the land holdings that are part of that. So the town does receive a dividend, has for some time received cash dividend for that. So that is part of the reserve movement. This was the valuation of our share of the lots still held for sale for this year. And the amount, the opening balance of that when we did our reconciliations was incorrect from the previous year. So all those adjustments relate to that one error.
So,
Mr Maxwell?
yeah, so my question was more around if the audit was unqualified last year, why were the changes done this year to the previous year's audit that was supposed to be all tickety-boo?
Mr Old?
Upon finding the error, we consulted with the auditors about the best process to do that. I am not the auditor, so I cannot speak for them on whether something is qualified or unqualified. We worked through the methodology of the correction of that error upon finding it, and took advice from the auditor's recommendation and also other agencies or other advice on how we best deal with that. And that's a conclusion. And upon the audit, they still issued an unqualified audit.
It's also my understanding, Mr Maxwell, that's a matter that the Auditor-General and their contracted auditors, RSM, working on the town's audits, raised with the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, and that's how it was determined should be dealt with according to the auditor. So that's why it appears in the way it does. Do you have another question?
Yes, I do, thank you. So I want to know, why are the auditors' audit management letters, which identify weaknesses in controls and governance, not published alongside the annual report so ratepayers can see the full findings of the audit?
Mr Old?
The audit management letters are addressed to the Mayor and the CEO. They do highlight potential control matters, and because of that very risk, is my recommendation that they are not made public. The control matters could be anything in the financial sphere. So my opinion is you do not necessarily want that published because it may lead to fraud, corruption, or some untoward activities towards the town. It's quite a common practice for local governments to not practice that because they assess the risk of publishing versus not publishing. And as we previously talked about, that's my recommendation to council.
All right, thanks, Mr Old. It's also the case, Mr Maxwell, that I inquired of this from the Auditor-General's representatives, and they consider that their audit management letters to council are confidential.
So who was that said that?
That was the representatives, the Auditor-General. Now, that is your 4 questions, but since no one else has indicated that they had any other questions to ask about the audit report, you said you had 5 questions. I'm happy to hear your 5th question, but then we'll be moving on because we have a full public gallery, and I'm sure there are lots of other people, according to this list, who have more questions to ask.
Thank you. So refer to page 66 of the report titled Lease Reduction / Peppercorn Leases. And I note the organisations such as the bowling club and the hockey club, for example, are shown with discounted leases. And I also note the absence of the Black Oak lease on Edward Millen land and buildings that are described by the licence valuation the town obtained in 2023 as having a value of $295,000 per annum, discounted by 58% to $122,500. It was also noted that under the council's 70-year agreement with Black Oak that this lease discount will increase each year due to the cap being substantially below the long-term inflation rate. So why isn't this discounted lease included in that table?
Well, Mr Maxwell, I'd say it a good bet, but I will go to Mr Old for confirmation. It's because that arrangement didn't commence until the works were completed, because Black Oak needed to clear all the conditions before the lease would be entered into, and so that lease hadn't been entered into as of 30 June 2025. Mr Old, am I right about that?
Mayor, I understand that's correct.
So thanks, Mr Maxwell. Appreciate your questions in relation to the annual report. As always, you're very welcome to send through questions to us about the annual report outside of the electors meeting, and you're also more than welcome to raise those at ordinary council meetings during general public question time. Thank you. So there being no one else who's indicated that they have questions to ask about the annual report, it now comes to the moment where I need to seek a motion from the floor to receive the annual report for 2024-2025. So I'm seeking an elector to move the motion that's now on the screen, that the electors receive the contents of the 2024-25 annual report and the audited financial statements as presented to the electors of the town of Victoria Park. Is there an elector who would be prepared to move this motion? And noting that if there isn't one who willingly puts their hand up, then I'm probably going to be looking for somebody specific to do that. So, Peter Devereux, thank you. That is moved. Is there a seconder, please? Jerry Pruitt, thank you. Seconded. Mr. Devereux, did you wish to be heard on the motion for the annual report?
No, thank you, Mayor Vernon.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pruitt, did you wish to be heard on the motion for the annual report?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. What I am going to do is say that once you had registered as an elector, you should have received a red and a green voting card. And so these are to be used for you to indicate whether you agree with the motion or whether you don't agree with the motion. So you're either voting for or you're voting against. I will ask, is there anyone who wishes to oppose the motion that is now on the floor for receiving of the annual report and the audited financial statements?
Wish to make an amendment?
What sort of amendment do you propose to make, Mr. Maxwell?
I'd like to amend the motion by adding the words and to publish the auditor's interim and final audit management letters alongside the annual report on the town's website.
Well, I'm not going to allow that amendment to be made, Mr. Maxwell, because it's not an amendment to the annual report. You're talking about other discrete standalone documents. They are not a part of the... Sorry, if we could please, just a reminder to everyone to please turn off their mobile phones, thank you, during business. Sorry, Mr. Maxwell, for you being interrupted by that mobile phone ringtone. So I'm not going to permit that amendment to be made because it's not an amendment to the annual report or the audited financial statements. Those documents don't include the audit management letters. So thank you, appreciate your intention, but that's not an amendment that I'm going to allow.
Can I just get the governance to confirm that your decision is, or I'll move a motion of dissent if you prefer.
Mr. Maxwell, I'm the presiding member. I rule on these matters, not the manager of governance. So I'm not allowing your amendment, and there is no motion by you to dissent in my ruling. That's not a provision for this meeting. Motions to dissent in the rulings of the presiding member are made at meetings of council, not meetings of electors. So,
didn't you say this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the meeting procedures standard local law?
That is exactly right.
And there's a provision in there for...
Mr. Maxwell, please don't talk over the top of me when I am speaking to you. I'm the presiding member. I told everyone at the outset that I'm the presiding member. When I give directions, you need to listen to what I have to say. So there's a provision in the meeting procedures local law that says the meeting procedures can apply to electors' meetings, but they otherwise do not indicate how those meeting procedures apply to electors' meetings. The provisions that are specifically in the meeting procedures about motions of dissent in the ruling of the presiding member are for members to make, and members is a reference to members of council, not members of the electors cohort. So those provisions in the meeting procedures local law do not apply to this meeting, and I have not made a determination that they will apply. So on that basis, it's not a matter for the manager of governance. I've made my ruling. That's the end of it, Mr. Maxwell. Thanks very much. So I'm now going to call for a vote on those electors who wish to move in favour of receiving the annual report. If you could please just raise by indicating your green card so that we have enough time for the town staff to count those votes. Thank you. And then after that, we'll go to those who are in dissent. And if you just keep your cards held up until I get word from the council liaison officer that we have numbers. Thank you. Yep. All right. And all those who oppose the receipt of the contents of the annual report, please raise your red card. There being no red cards raised, I'll declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Maxwell, you heard me ask and you hadn't raised your red card and I'd already called it. So I'm sorry.
Well, I would like to make a note in the report of that you didn't allow people to vote.
Well, I called for the vote, Mr. Maxwell, and by the way, I'm not going to take repeated commentary from you or anybody else in the public gallery during the course of this meeting, or we'll be here for a really long time, and I don't intend for us to be here for a really long time. All right, so thank you to those electors for their support for the annual report for Victoria Park. So we now move to item 5 on the agenda, which is general business, and we will deal with those as questions, statements and motions. Now going to read out the procedures that I have determined that will apply. For questions, electors will be offered an opportunity to ask a maximum of 4 questions each. Any questions that are unable to be responded to at this annual meeting of electors will be taken on notice. In this case, where a question is taken on notice, a written response to the question will be provided as soon as possible and it will be included on the agenda of the next council meeting, or if that is not possible, the agenda for the following council meeting. In relation to statements, electors wishing to make a statement are to have a maximum of 2 minutes to make their statement, and that could be a statement on multiple items or it could just be a statement on one issue. And it goes without saying that there's only one statement per elector. In relation to motions, any motions are to be moved and seconded before anyone is permitted to speak. So what that will mean is that if you are moving a motion, I'll be inviting you to say the words of your motion, and once you've done that, I will then seek someone to second it. When there's a seconder, then I'll come back to the mover and invite you to speak and tell us about your motion and why you would like it to be supported. A mover of a motion will have 3 minutes in which to speak on their motion. So that's when you will say what you need to say in order to persuade your fellow electors that they should vote in favour of your motion. I will then ask all the electors who are present if there is any dissent to the motion. And the reason I do that is to work out whether there will need to be some debate amongst you. If there is no dissent to the motion that has just been moved, the motion will then be put to the vote and you'll be asked again to signal your intention with the voting cards, either voting for or voting against with the red card. If there is dissent, so someone indicates that they wish to speak against the motion, there will be an opportunity for speakers in dissent, and those persons will have 3 minutes in which to speak against the motion. That will be their opportunity to persuade their fellow electors why they should not support the motion that is on the table. Following the hearing of speakers against the motion, the mover of the motion will have a right of reply for up to 2 minutes. So that is the opportunity for the mover of the motion to address the arguments that have just been made against their motion. So it is not an opportunity to restate all of your arguments, but it is your opportunity to have listened to what is said against your motion and tell us why those arguments are not to be followed. And following that, all of the motions will then be put to the vote, and it is dealt with by a simple majority vote of the electors who are present. When it comes to voting, there is a rule about that, and voting is to be conducted by a show of hands, as indeed you have just done, so that no voter's vote is secret, meaning that each voter will be able to see the votes of the other voters. When you are directed to vote, again asking you to raise your voting cards, green or red, and to keep them raised until I can indicate to you that we've been able to do a count to determine how many people have voted in each different manner. Noting, of course, that each elector present is only entitled to 1 vote on each matter to be decided, but you do not have to vote. And if you don't wish to vote, you don't need to let me know that you're abstaining. We don't do that. That is a process that we could follow, but it's not one that we do in this instance. So on that basis, I'm now going to move to the first part, which is questions. And I do have some people who have indicated when our council liaison officer was coming around that they do have questions that they would wish to ask. And I'm going to go through those persons in the order in which they appear on my list. When I've got to the end of the people who had indicated in advance they'd like to ask questions, I'll then open it to the floor. So if you haven't already let us know that you would like to ask questions, don't worry, you won't miss out on an opportunity to tell us that you've got some questions to ask. And equally, you might hear some things said in the course of question time that prompts questions from yourself that might mean you do have things that you would like to ask about. So starting on this list, I'll be calling the names of the people on the list, asking you to come forward to the centre lectern and state your full name, which in this instance is only required to be first name and surname, and the suburb that you live in, so that we can have that for our records. So first on the list, Graham Firstat.
Thank you, Mayor. Graham Firstat, Burswood. My first question, under delegated authority, how much is the CEO currently authorised to spend without referring the matter to a council for approval?
That's $500,000.
Thank you. During the last financial year, how many times did the CEO exercise this delegated authority for amounts in excess of $250,000?
I have to refer that to the CEO. I'm not sure that he can tell you that off the top of his head. He might need to take that one on notice.
I'll take it on notice, please, Mayor Vernon.
We'll need to take that one on notice, Mr Firstat. We can get you that information, but I don't think it's available right this second.
Does the town maintain a record of each instance where the CEO uses this delegated authority, including the dollar amounts and the purpose of the expenditure?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
That's it? Yes. All right. Thanks, Mr Firstat. Next on the list, now, Mr Maxwell, you're on my list as having some questions not related to the annual report. Do you want to come up now and ask those? Yep.
Vince Maxwell, Victoria Park. So I'd like to seek an opinion from the Governance Officer in respect of the procedures that have been determined by the presiding member and printed in the agenda, specifically in regards to the way debate on motions are handled. And I refer to item 11 on page 3 of the agenda, and it says that if there is any dissent, those speakers in dissent have 3 minutes in which to speak against the motion. In other words, no one else can speak in favour of a motion other than the mover. So referring to the procedure under the heading General, item 2 states that the meeting will be conducted in line with the Town of Victoria Park Meeting Procedure Local Law 2019, and where the meeting procedure local law makes no provision, the procedures shall be otherwise determined by the presiding member. And the meeting procedure local law does make provision on how debates will be handled under clause 71, and it begins with the words that the presiding member is to call speakers in the following order. It does not say may, it says is to. So I just wonder what, and that one talks about speakers for, against, and alternating in that manner. So what is the government's view on overriding provisions that are already contained in the local law, bearing in mind that this local law has had to be approved by the state parliament?
Well, Mr Maxwell, I'm not overriding the local government local law. Part 8, debate of substantive motions, that you refer to clause 71, that relates to members of council. So that's the elected members of council, not electors. But I will refer the matter... Mr Maxwell, I haven't finished speaking yet. I will refer the matter to the Manager of Governance, even though I'm not required to do so because I determine what is the procedure at this meeting. Mr Douglas, is there anything that you wish to say about that?
I'm happy to agree in this particular instance with Mayor Vernon.
So do you have another question, Mr Maxwell, given that it's a 4-question limit?
Yes, I do. So in that clause 71, can you show me where it says anything about member on there? Because it actually says speakers.
So, Mr Maxwell, clause 71 is a part of part 8, debate of substantive motions. Motions are to be stated in writing. Any member who wishes to move a substantive motion or an amendment to a substantive motion and that is a reference to an elected member, and thereafter all of the provisions under Part 8 relate to the conduct of debate by elected members of council, not by electors at an electors meeting. That's why I determine the procedure, because our local law, the meeting procedures local law, does not have a set of provisions for electors meetings. And so it is in the Act and the regulations that the presiding member of the meeting of electors determines the procedure. So I've determined that whatever in the meeting procedures local law can apply to this meeting will apply to it, and that includes things like no adverse reflection by any person present, whether they're an elected member or otherwise, but it does not co-opt in all of the provisions that apply to elected member debate to apply to debate by electors at this meeting. So I've made my determination. There is no dissent against my ruling. You can either continue to ask these questions and waste your 4 questions on this, or you can move on to something else that you had indicated earlier in the evening before we started to our council liaison officer that you wanted to ask about. It's your choice, Mr. Maxwell.
Well, no, I won't ask any more questions. I see little point if you're running the meeting in an undemocratic way like this.
Well, I'm not interested in your observations, Mr. Maxwell. So there's no debate. You know the rules. You come to enough of our meetings, electors and otherwise. So thanks very much for your questions. We'll move on to the next person on the list. Kieran Sylvie, please come forward and state your name and your suburb, unless you've changed your mind and you don't wish to ask questions anymore. But please don't be deterred by people who've got particular views about the meeting. Thanks. I look forward to hearing your questions. Mr. Maxwell, if you continue to speak out of turn from the floor to the detriment of your fellow electors, I will ask you to leave the meeting. So I'm very sorry. Please proceed with your question.
I did put down that I just have a motion, not a question.
Okay, sorry. It appears on here. Oh, I thought that was a plus for questions. So, all right, not a problem.
Good.
Thank you. Okay, that's fine. Now, I have someone's name on the list, but it doesn't indicate how many questions are to be asked or whether it's motions or statements. So I don't really know the answer to this, but they're on my list. Perhaps if you could indicate when I say your name whether you're wanting to ask questions. Marilyn Lindley? No, not for questions. Okay. All right. Were you wanting to be on the list for statement or only when we got to motions? Only motions. All right. Excellent. That's all right. Excellent. Now, the next person on my list, I have the number 2 next to it, but again, not an indication of whether it's questions, statements or motions. So I'll do the same. Dwayne Detroit? No, no questions? All right. That's good. Will you motion? No? Oh, you want to withdraw? Okay. All right. Okay. Next on the list, again, not an indication as to whether it's questions, statements or motions. James Miller? I withdraw, thank you. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. And last person on my list, Monique Field. Questions, statements or motions? Oh, you're making a motion. Excellent. All right. Thank you. Okay, well, that's all the names that I had listed. So now I throw it open to the public gallery. Is there anyone who has any questions that they would wish to ask? Yes, please come forward. Person in the back row, and then we'll go, Mr. Devereux, was that your hand I saw popping up from the side? Yep.
Hello.
You could just state your name and suburb, please.
Rioni from East Victoria Park.
I think we actually need your surname.
Witten, sorry.
Thank you. Sorry, just for the record. I don't want to presuppose and say your name for you. Thanks.
I was wondering if someone could explain, please, the town's commemorative naming policy, and it's also the dual naming process that you're going through, and what steps you're taking to ensure that there is diversity and gender equity when naming places and facilities in the future.
Okay, well, I thought Mr. Doy would be hoping he got a question, so I'm going to go to the Chief Community Planner, Mr. Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Werner. Thanks for the question. I'm always hoping for questions, but that is a tricky one in terms of the commemorative recognition policy, which is a really important one, and we are starting to explore what the process is for dual naming, and that process, this specific process we want to follow for dual naming, is being explored with our Mandira advisory group. So that is, the exact process is underway. We don't necessarily have any plans to roll out dual naming across the town, other than to say we are, with Mandira Advisory Group, investigating McCallum Park at the moment, but it is really a procedural question as to the best way to go at the moment.
And I'll probably just add to that, the commemorative recognition policy that we have is somewhat different to the dual naming that Mr. Doy spoke about and that you asked about. So the commemorative recognition policy allows members of the community to make applications for places to be named after individuals. And so the policy divides it up into what would be considered to be a small memorial versus a large memorial. So if I gave an example, a small memorial might be a bench in a park, whereas a large memorial might be to name the whole park after someone. So that's the distinction. There's eligibility criteria in there. It does require the person after whom the memorial would be named to have connections to the town of some standing, and for their recognition, the eligibility increases by the size of the memorial. So if you were to ask us to rename a park after someone, the eligibility criteria is quite significant for that, whereas actually asking the town, could I have a plaque on a park bench, or could we install a plaque bench to reflect someone, that is a lower level touch process to make that kind of application. So I hope that sort of indicates it, but generally the eligibility criteria for the larger memorials is around contribution. So it does lend itself to considerable diversity, whether it's people who have contributed in all walks of life. But at the moment, I will say, it being a commemorative recognition, it does require the person to be deceased before we would name something after them. So that obviously limits a bit of the scope to it, but that's the general sort of outline. I hope that helps, and the details of that policy can be found on the town's website.
Could I ask just very quickly? I know that it's like a question or notice, not a right now thing. Is there a report or like a list that sort of breaks down the things that are named in the town by gender? So, like, can we tell, like, is it 80% are named after men, etc.?
Look, I'm not aware of ever having seen anything like that, bearing in mind that when the town of Victoria Park was created, it came out of the city of Perth. So all of the assets that we had at that stage were inherited assets from the city. And to the extent that we have any records now that tell us how some of those facilities came to be named, such as parks and buildings, we have a bit, and memory says to me in the past we've been able to identify some of it, but we actually had encountered an issue where one place we couldn't find really good details about how it came to be named after an individual or why. So on that basis, I certainly, for example, if you looked at our list of parks on the website, you would see that there are very few places that are named, for example, after females. There's a large number that are named after males, but I'm not aware of a consolidated list where you could easily go, but I'm sure that's something that Mr. Doy could give consideration to and talk to his team about.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your questions. That's great. Is there, well, actually, Peter Devereux, you said that you had some questions. Please come forward. You're no stranger to this process, so I'll let you do your bit.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. Peter Devereux, Star Street, Carlisle. I've heard a lot of people say that. I've never said it myself, or not for a long time. I wanted to ask about the street meet and greet program, and to hear a bit more about the purpose of that program, and to know when the budget for that program ran out this year, for starters.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Mr. Doy. I'm hoping that he's got information to hand for you.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. I do have some information to hand because I thought that this question may come up. In terms of when the actual actually, I'll start with the purpose. So the purpose of the Street Meet and Greet program, while it sits under our Safer Neighbourhoods program and it does provide incredible benefits in terms of creating a safer neighbourhood, the outcomes of Street Meet and Greet are much wider than that. But it is primarily to facilitate community connection. And community connection obviously can deliver safety results and a safer neighbourhood, but it gives us the potential for physical and mental health results as well, outcomes. We also get, with the intent to try and reduce isolation, allow people from different genders, backgrounds, ages to meet and form a connection. That's all really good stuff. We also, the Street Meet and Greet program also enables people to experience their street without cars and to experience a much slower environment and to engage with their street in the public realm. And there's a lot of benefits with that, from an understanding of the public realm, pride in their public realm. So the list goes on in terms of outcomes. So that's the purpose. It is a highly subscribed program, and so it runs out reasonably early. The exact month I'm not certain, but it does fill up really quickly. Yep.
We can take on notice the question of when the Street Meet and Greet program was fully subscribed in the current financial year for you, if that would be information that you would be interested in having.
It is information that I, from personal experience, are aware of, but I think it would be interesting to get that publicly aware. That would be good.
So we'll take that
Thank
on
you.
notice, and that'll appear in the agenda for the next meeting. Your next question?
Next question is, has there ever been a report of the success of the program towards making Vic Park a safer place to live?
Mr. Doy?
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. I will take that on notice. I suspect that there is some social impact reporting which covers the outcomes of Street Meet and Greet, but perhaps I'll take that on notice and we'll be able to provide a detailed answer.
Thank you.
Another question?
Yep. Are there any plans to roll out the program differently in future so that a range of streets and groups might access the Street and Greet program across the whole year, given you've noted that it usually runs out early?
Mr. Doy?
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. Yes, it's a highly successful program, something we're proud of. There is some thought that's occurring administratively around what the future of this program is, and it'll be something that we'll talk about with councillors through the budget workshop process this year.
Anything further? I think you're up to number 4.
So I've got number 4. Yay. I wasn't sure if I'd run out. That's good. Excellent. Last one. Something that's coming up at council. There was mention earlier in the reporting on the Oat Street Station Precinct Plan, and and there was talk about that in terms of partly meeting Vic Park's infill targets, and I wondered if we know what the with that infill around the Oat Street Station Precinct Plan that was put through last year, what the income potentially would come to the town from that infill around that precinct plan.
Mr. Doy?
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. While I don't have the ultimate potential yield, so dwelling increases from the Oat Street Precinct Structure Plan, if it was to be built out to its full capacity, I don't have that on hand. I could certainly take that on notice and find out. If that were to occur, that would be a substantial increase in dwellings, and then that obviously has an impact on our rates revenue. Yep.
And it's probably also worthwhile noting, for the benefit of those in the public gallery, the Oat Street train station has been identified by the Minister for Planning and the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage as being one of the 10 named train stations for a station improvement plan, which is likely to override all of our work on the Oat Street Station Precinct Plan, and we'll replace it with state government framework planning. So that could change the density of that entire area. So we can take on notice your question and provide you with the density yields potentially for what our plan says, but unfortunately looks like we're being superseded. So we might be facing a different kind of density there than we had contemplated. You're happy for us to take on notice what we can tell you about our own precinct plan?
Of course.
Yep. All right. So we'll take that on notice.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Anyone else who's got any questions that they would like to ask? Yes, please, if you'd like to come forward, just state your name and your suburb. All careful.
Thank you.
The microphone's already switched on, and we'll just hear your name and your suburb,
Hi, my
please.
name is Wendy Morris. I live in Swancare. This is my first meeting. My concern is, and I hear about this, I'm involved with Housing for the Aged Action Group, which is based in Victoria, but I'm a member of the National Alliance of Seniors for Housing. And I've lived in precarious housing for 25 years at least. So I'm very concerned, particularly about older women at risk of homelessness, the fastest growing cohort. But what I'm hearing around, and I have been for several years now, is lazy government land. And I don't know whether you've heard that term, but I keep hearing it. It's not necessarily council land. It can be state government land. It can be Commonwealth government land as well. And I wonder, is there any in the town of Vic Park, and is it mapped? I know that Victoria in particular has got a map of its lazy government land, but I just wondered, that's my question basically, given the housing crisis.
Sure, I am going to go to the Chief Community Planner, but the short answer to your question is yes, there is a number of lots of lazy state government land sitting within the town of Victoria Park, and we are very familiar with it. Mr. Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Van. And you may have answered my question there, because the answer is yes. There is a lot of lazy state government land, and it is mapped in our intramap mapping as well. So, but there is a lot, and strategically located too, quite a bit around train stations. So, yep, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
So we can also tell you that one of those pieces of land sits on the corner of Kent Street and Berwick Street, across the road from the petrol station, which one you might be familiar with because it's not down the road from Bentley where you are. That piece of land was earmarked for a development for the My Home project, where the state government offered to provide that lazy land up for a 20-year lease at a peppercorn for accommodation to be built for women over 55 at risk of homelessness. Unfortunately, it appears that that development, despite receiving development approval and gaining the support of council, hasn't progressed. There is, however, another piece of land which is part of Miller's Crossing over in Carlisle, so it's just off Miller Street, roundabout next to the roundabout at Bishopsgate Street, across the road from Coolbardie Park. There are 2 lots of land there which are state government owned, and development approval has been granted for a social housing to be built there for women, both women over 55 as well as women in a younger cohort. My understanding is that project is proceeding at the moment. That's also with the My Home project, and I think they may just have secured some of their funding for the build to commence soon. I don't have all of the details, but that's a development the state government is building within the town of Victoria Park for the very purpose that you pointed out.
Oh, thank you. I know Michelle Blakely very well, so I know the work she does. Just quickly, the second question is just that why did the other one not progress?
So look, I think the truth is that's probably more a question for Michelle. My understanding is that the project relies on the component partners being the state government to offer the land, the local government to basically permit the development to go ahead, and then the private sector comes on board with the costs for the construction. And clearly some of those pieces or factors can not necessarily go according to plan. And I do think that perhaps in the case of that one on the corner of Kent Street and Berwick Street, I had heard that it was around the funding being inaccessible for the build. So, but having said that, the My Home project is the one scheduled to do the development in Carlisle.
Good one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your question. Anyone else who has any questions they would like to ask? Yes, at the back. Is that Tim Young, I see. Yep, come forward.
Thank you. Timothy Young, East Victoria Park.
Yep, when you're ready.
Does the town have statistics on the amount of rates being paid by residents in medium and high density housing versus single occupancy detached dwellings, particularly noting that the former do not have access to a large number of the town's initiatives despite paying the same or similar rates?
I have to go to the Chief Financial Officer for that one.
I'll have to take that on notice to see what's in the rates database, how far it is segmented. I suspect we will, but obviously I don't know that to hand right now.
We probably have to take that one on notice for you, but the sounds of it might be a bit too hard for us to try to answer that without having any good data.
I'll wait for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions from the floor? If not, back row, please come forward.
Hello, Clinton Nunn, East Victoria Park. So my questions are two questions, hopefully, around the Archer Mint Streetscape Improvement Plan. So my questions are, what are the council's plans for completing dedicated bike lanes and a pedestrian crossing on Beatty Avenue near the Mint and Beatty Avenue intersection as per the original designs from the improvement plan?
Mr. Doy. Oh, yep. I'm going to go to Mr. Doy because he has carriage of the strategic plan, but Ms. Labicus, our Chief Operations Officer, would have carriage of rollout. So, Mr. Doy?
I'll provide a bit of an answer, but if I see something from the Chief Operating Officer, I'll swing towards her as well. But in terms of the Mint, Beatty, the intersection itself, that's largely complete. That was funded through the Black Spot program and completed 12 months ago. There may need to be some integration with future bike lanes, but the intersection itself is largely complete to make sure there's safer crossing for pedestrians, but especially school students at East Vic Park Primary.
All right, and I'll go to Ms. Labicus in relation to the other part of it, which is the bike lanes that you asked about, plans for completing those. So, Ms. Labicus.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. Yes, we do have plans and it's been put up as part of the capital project over the next 2 financial years to continuously deliver on that vision. So it's still going.
Thank you. And a follow-up question is, what are the council's plans for slowing down traffic? So, for example, traffic calming measures on Beatty Avenue near the East Victoria Park Primary School?
Ms. Labicus.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. This year we are actually looking at planning the implementation of that traffic calming. So we'll take a year to do a little bit of design work, a little bit of survey work to make sure that we understand the speeds, we understand the directions and that sort of stuff, and then we'll move forward in subsequent years to deliver that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions from anyone? No, I'm not seeing any other questions. So on that basis, I'm going to go to 5.2, which is statements. So far, I haven't had any indication that on my list that there was anyone who wished to make a statement. But if there are any persons who wish to make a statement, now's the opportunity to do that with a limit of 2 minutes per statement. So is there anyone who wishes to come forward to make a statement? No, not seeing anybody who wants to make a statement. Looks like everyone's interested in motions. So we will move to 5.3, which is motions. So I do have some people on the list that was given to me who do wish to make motions, and I'm going to go through those people in the order in which they appear on this list and call them up. So have already indicated to you what the process is for motions, but don't worry. I know that I did that some time ago, but we will remind you as we go through. So the first person on my list to move a motion is Graham Firstat. Oh, actually, sorry. Apologies for that. I do actually have, I see they're actually at the back here, some pre-submitted, pre-registered motions that actually come before yours. So apologies for that, Mr. Firstat. We will get to you, don't worry. But I am going to invite these people who pre-submitted theirs to come forward and do theirs first. And hopefully those who pre-submitted, we can get these up on the screen for you. So I'm going to call upon Alex Wallace to please come forward. If you could just state your name, I think we've got it up there on Victoria Park, but if you could just confirm, and then I'll invite you to read out your motion, and then I'll call for a seconder. Thank you.
Alex Wallace, Victoria Park. My motion is that Council 1 requests the Public Transport Authority investigate improving public transport options connecting residents and visitors with Victoria Park Station, and 2, investigates available options, likely in conjunction with the Public Transport Authority, to expand the free transit zone into high traffic areas of the town of Victoria Park.
Thank you. So now going to seek, is there a seconder, please, for this motion? So seconded Jennifer Ammons-Noble. Thank you. All right, so as per the procedure I've determined, you now have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak to your motion, so I look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Wallace. I live on Leonard Street in Victoria Park. I've been a 5-year resident of the town, having bought my first home here 18 months ago. My motion relates to exploring options for making the town both more connected and more affordable to live in, while also providing several boons for the town that are both financial and great for the atmosphere. The first relates to better connecting services to Victoria Park Station. At present, if you want to make use of Victoria Park Station and you live west of Albany Highway, you're looking at up to a 15-minute walk, if not more. While we have a great bus services getting residents to the CBD or to the southern end of the town, if you want to access other parts of the train network, you need to take a bus into the CBD or make the full walk to the station. Now, for me, this isn't too bad of a trek, but for my partner in a wheelchair or a young family who need to push a pram the whole way, that can be quite the distance. So with the station currently modified, while the raising of the Armadale line was taking place, now feels like a good opportunity to explore that as an option. And the second part is about the expansion of the free transit zone into the town. Now, while I would love to see the whole town captured, I know that that's a pretty big ask. So my suggestion would be to capture the trips that start or end at all of the train stations within Victoria Park. So that's Perth Stadium through to Oat Street, and then the bus stops along Albany Highway and Shepparton Road. I suspect that might need to be some sort of possibly a cost sharing model with the PTA, but by encouraging more residents and visitors onto public transport services, there's possibly some potential to save funds on road maintenance by having less cars on the road. This also encourages more people to get out and about into Victoria Park. If you finish work on a random weekday night in the Perth city, you now have a free option to come and have dinner in Vic Park and then head off again as well. So it's great for potentially some road saving costs, great for residents in Victoria Park who will be able to save a bit more money on their transport, hopefully encourage more people onto public transport, and hopefully also quite the boon for our local businesses as well. I think this motion is both important and has a level of practicality to it as well, as the town embarks on making further action on taking further action on the climate crisis, supporting residents through the cost of living pressures, and making the town a more inclusive place to live, work and play. Thanks.
Thank you. What I might do is get you to just stay there for one moment. Just going to find out now, is there anyone who is opposed to this particular motion? So in other words, anyone who's in dissent, because then obviously we'll move through the process of having speakers against. Not seeing any indication of dissent, so that is a good start. So I'm now then going to call upon people to vote. So if you could please hold up your green cards if you support this motion. Just give us a moment to count. All right, thank you. And now anyone who is opposed to the motion, please hold up your red card. No red cards, so there being no dissent, declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, thank you. Great. All right, so our first motion is off and running. All right, so the second one that is pre-registered, I'm now going to call on Monique Field to please come forward, and we'll get your name and suburb, and then we'll hear your motion.
Monique Field, and I live in East Victoria Park. So I'm here tonight to represent a small group of people who formed a neighbourhood watch group in East Victoria Park, and we formed this group as a result of the fact that we're experiencing considerable antisocial behaviour on a continued basis. Machete attacks, opportune stealing, continued break-ins, continued domestic violence. So as a community, we would like to move the motion that the Council examines and advises the cost impact on rates over the next 3 years to potentially progressively introduce State Operation Command Centre cameras and that are police and network compatible, with high resolution and plate recognition cameras across multiple busy locations in the town of Vic Park. That the Council liaise with the counterparts in other shires to examine suitable SOC solutions, and SOC stands for State Operation Command Centre. That the Council decides in principle after the investigation phase to proceed with a single camera 1-year trial as a minimum commitment to this process. The purpose of this is for safety and protection of all Victoria Park residents and businesses, as well as for the greater good of all WA citizens and the many visitors that we have to the town of Vic Park.
Thank you. All right, I'll now seek, is there a seconder for this motion? So seconded in the front row, sorry, your name? Dwayne Detroit, thank you. So it has been seconded. So would you like to speak now to your motion? You have up to 3 minutes to tell us about it.
So the State Operation Command Centre was established in WA in February 2024, and it's a combination of a variety of high-profile cameras that bring together information and data regarding the community and the inappropriate behaviour of some people to form an overall picture. As a community, so from every shire, there's a variety of information that's fed into a central command centre, and based on that, the police are able to use that information to track inappropriate behaviour and continue to solve it. So as a community, we feel as though that this data is very informative, and it's vital to support our community intelligence and to support the police in gathering intelligence and ultimately solving crime. So we're aware at the moment that the town of East Vic Park issue a rebate on camera installation, and my husband and I have engaged in this, and so have many of my colleagues who are here tonight, but we feel like it's not quite enough because our cameras are considerably less able than the potential for the cameras that we're speaking about, or the potential for the coverage of cameras that we're speaking about. And then police are beholden to community ratepayers to wait for when they're free and able to provide them with the relevant information from the cameras that are available to them. It's our understanding at the moment that there are no cameras on the main strip in Vic Park and no cameras around in the community that provide this information and are fed centrally to support investigative procedures. So we're very aware of the impact of the cost to the ratepayer. We're hoping that the Shire will potentially look at any possible grants from the state government. We think that this technology is best practice, and that has happened fairly quickly, really. And we would like the Shire to assist our community to engage in this process, to investigate and to report back and see whether this could be an effective means of ensuring that our community can become more safe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm formally going to inquire of the electors, is there any dissent to this motion? No, not seeing any indication of dissent. So I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your green card. And if you could please keep them raised. And yes, at the front, we'll class you, Monique, as having a green card. All right, thank you. And those who are against, if you could please raise your red card. All right, so I think there were 5 against and all the other number were in favour, so I declare that has been carried. Thank you. All right, thank you so much for moving that. So next person to move a motion from the pre-registered list, Hayley Casarotto. And if we could just get you to state your name and suburb first, and then we'll hear your motion.
Great, thanks. Good evening. I'm Hayley Casarotto from St James. My motion is regarding safety of all users of Hillview Terrace, and it is that Council investigates reducing the speed limit on Hillview Terrace to 50 kilometres an hour, investigates the reconfiguration of the intersection of Hillview Terrace, Boundary Road and Jarrah Road to remove the lane merge point north of said intersection, investigates the installation of additional safe pedestrian crossing points on Hillview Terrace between Boundary Road and Berwick Street, investigates the installation of a staff school crossing on Hillview Terrace, and investigates the installation of protected bike lanes on Hillview Terrace via low-cost measures. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I now seek, is there a seconder for this motion? Peter Devereux, you got your hand up first for that one. All right. So you have a seconder. You have up to 3 minutes if you'd like to speak to your motion.
Thank you. I live on Hillview Terrace, so I know firsthand that it can be a dangerous road. I'm here tonight to ask for a series of improvements to make it a better fit for our community. It's a road within a built-up area, which is usually a default 50 kilometres per hour, but it's currently posted as a 60 kilometre hour road. This discrepancy will become more noticeable when the limits on adjoining streets are lowered to 40 kilometres an hour thanks to the fantastic Perth Inner City Group's 40 kilometres on Local Streets initiative. Data shows that vehicles regularly exceed the speed limit here. Drivers frequently speed to get ahead at the merge point from Jarrah Road right before reaching Higgins Park, which is a situation that could be remedied by removing this merge point. Higgins Park is particularly busy during football season, and the potential for park users to be involved in an incident is a real risk that can be reduced with slower speeds and friendlier architecture. There has already been a fatal accident on this stretch of road a few years ago due to speed, as well as countless near misses. This road also impacts our community by forming a barrier to active transport. It cuts through the Millen Primary School catchment zone and anecdotally is a major feature in parents choosing to drive their kids to school instead of walking, riding or rolling. Making the streets safer to cross would help families make the choice to make active transport part of their school routine. Presently, for example, there is only one refuge island suitable for bikes in the 1 kilometre between Boundary Road and Berwick Street, and its location on a busy sharp corner makes it quite scary for kids to use. Adding additional crossings and potentially a staff crossing would be really helpful. We know that wider streets implicitly encourage higher speeds, whilst visually narrowing them can encourage drivers to go slower. The town's Skinny Streets program is fantastic, and it would be wonderful to see similar thinking applied in this instance too. Protected bike lanes would be very welcome here, particularly given that it's a numbered bike route that links Oak Street Station with Curtin Uni. Studies show that protected bike lanes reduce road accidents for all road users, whilst encouraging mode shifts and all of the community health and environmental benefits that entails. Thank you. I hope the community would support this proposal.
Thank you. So I'm now going to ask, is there dissent to this that will require us to go to a debate? All right, I'm not seeing anyone who wishes to take that view. So on that basis, I'm going to put it to the vote. So all those in favour, please raise your green card. And all those who are against, please raise your red card. Noting there's one red card, so we have one against and all the remainder were for, so I declare that has been carried. So thank you. for bringing that forward.
I do have a second motion as well.
Yep, I'm popping over to the next page because that's quite far away. So it's going to upload. There you go in a moment.
Thank you.
Sorry, it looks like the first part of the sentence has been cut off, but it does read that Council investigates a framework for implementing a school streets program and coordinates. And so the rest of that is visible. All right, so if you would like to read your second motion and then I'll seek a seconder.
Yep, so my motion is that councils investigate the implementation of a school streets program via the closure of suitable streets adjacent to schools. Sorry, that's not word sign. And coordinates with local schools to invite expressions of interest for a trial. Thank you.
All right. I'm just seeing, is it going to refresh and be a bit more visible? I think the computer's trying to do it now. There you go. Is that correct, what's up there now?
Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Alex Wallace at the back, thank you. It's been seconded. Thank you. All right, would you like to speak now to this motion? Thank you.
Okay. Transforming streets around schools into pedestrianised zones is one of the most effective, low-cost ways to improve child safety, well-being and urban livability. It's increasingly being implemented in cities around the world to reduce traffic danger, noise and pollution exposure to children. The public space can then be repurposed for the good of the community with additional greenery or other amenities. This can reduce the urban heat island and contribute to climate resilience whilst also making it safer and easier for families to integrate active transport into their daily routines. Studies show that kids who use active transport have better learning outcomes at school, are less likely to be car dependent as adults and will even carry that into future generations. We also know that reducing the number of vehicles on the road makes life easier for people who don't have the choice not to drive or be driven around. Our kids these days have less freedom to get around than previous generations did. I walked or rode to school almost every day as a child, and so did most of my friends, but these days kids are much more likely to be driven everywhere by their parents, ironically in part because it's becoming too dangerous for them on our roads due to all the cars. Reclaiming a little bit of public space for kids around their schools is one way that we can work to foster independence and resilience and to give families more choices. School streets would be a great addition to our community, and I hope that we can give our local schools the opportunity to experience their benefits.
Thank you. All right. So I'm formally going to ask, is there dissent to this motion on the basis there'll be a speaker against it? No, not seeing any indications, so I'm going to put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your green card. And all those who are against, please raise your red card. We have one against, and so the other majority means that has been carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for those two motions. Next on my list, Peter Devereux. When you're ready.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. I hope this is what's up there because I scribbled it down after I'd emailed it. But
I think it probably will be. Oh, there you go. We're having the same problem, but the glitch has corrected itself just now.
So the motion is that Council increase the street meet and greet budget for the 2026-2027 budget to enable it to be able to better respond to the community demand for this highly successful program.
We'll just get the dates changed because what you read out was 26-27, which is, of course, the coming budget year, and that one says 25-26. So no good trying to increase it if the year has already passed by. I'm sure you'll agree. So
I should have done that when I was still on council.
Right. Maybe so, yes. All right. So that's been changed now. So is there a seconder for this motion? Yep. Jerry Pruitt is seconded. All right. If you'd like to speak to your motion now, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon. As I asked a few questions earlier about the street meet and greet program, which, as we heard, has been very successful and that has been documented to some extent. Obviously, in our community, safety and community spirit in the town of Victoria Park is very important. And so I think the budget for the street greet and meet program, it's quite a tongue twister, that one, should be increased so that there's sufficient money across the year to respond to the community interest in that program. I think we know that vibrant public spaces are a great practical way to increase safety across the town. And I think we have many good examples of that across the town as well. And the one that I guess I would quote most recently is I'm so excited to see Long Park along the train line. I see all the time when I go home from the gym, families, people walking their dogs, families with their kids skating, often then walking back to their houses with their skates and bikes and kids' bikes and things on their shoulders, so going back to their local community. And I feel like that whole area along the railway line has become a much more safe, vibrant place because of the quality work that's been done by the town in really lovely collaboration with the state government in this instance to make a really vibrant area that is safer but also a really community-spirited area. And you see both people coming from the local streets, the nearby houses, as well as people walking or even, dare I say it, driving to this popular spot. So wanted to encourage that idea of the street meet and greet as a way to encourage that vibrant Town of Vic Park spirit that makes it safer for everyone because everyone knows each other and everyone cares for each other. And I hope my fellow electors will support me in that motion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll formally ask, is there any dissent, meaning a speaker will be speaking against? So there is an indication of dissent, so if I could ask... I asked for indications of dissent. So Mr Maxwell, are you in dissent? Because I'm hearing outside commentary from other persons in the gallery that that's not the purpose of you raising your hand. So is it dissent or is it something extra? All right, if you could please come forward and I'll just ask Mr Devereux to step aside. Is it a clarification about the motion?
I just wanted to know approximately what the current budget is for this program. We're talking about increasing the budget. I don't know what it is.
All right, refer that to Mr Doy.
Thanks, Mayor Vernon, and thanks for the question. At the moment, the current budget for the street meet and greet is $15,000 annually.
All right, so I'll ask, is there any dissent to this for a speaker against? No, there being no indication of a dissent, so we'll put it to the vote on that basis. So all those in favour, please raise your green card. I have two counters on either side to make sure that we get it right. Thank you. Those against, please raise your red card. I don't see any red cards raised. Is that correct with the counters? Yep. I'm not seeing any red cards raised, so there being no one against, I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Next on the list, understand you have two motions pre-submitted. Bryony Whitten.
I move that the council commissions a safety assessment for the intersection of Mint and Swansea Street, a safety assessment for the intersection of Dane Street South and Hubert Street, and a safety assessment for a pedestrian crossing outside Bailey Hill. Please.
Right, we're just getting that there. It's come up on the screen now. All right, so I'll call, is there a seconder for this motion? There's a bit of a tie of hands up the back there, but there is someone sitting behind Peter Devereux with a check shirt on.
Andrew Wall.
Andrew, all right, thank you.
Swansea Street.
You, I think, just beat the other two out by a nanosecond there. All right, if you would like to speak now to your motion, Bryony.
So starting with Mint and Swansea Street. So as you come up Mint Street from Shepparton Road heading towards Albany Highway, you turn left onto Swansea Street. There is the Horizon Church on the corner. And what I find as a resident of Swansea Street is as you come up the hill, particularly if you are not in a ginormous car, there is an enormous amount of parking, particularly on a Sunday when the church is busy. So a lot of people swing wide to go around all of those parked cars. And because you are coming up a hill, you can't see if there are cars coming down. And I've had an enormous amount of near misses from people who have just, rather than waiting to see if it's safe, have just swung wide. I'm surprised that there aren't more accidents there. So the street parking in that first little block just inhibits being able to see whether or not something's coming. For the Dane Street South and Hubert Street, there is a nice hill there with an intersection at the top. Again, particularly at twilight, it can get a little bit difficult to see if there are cars waiting. And then generally as people come up over the hill, they fang it down the other side and people are just going really fast. And as a pedestrian, again, have had quite a few near misses, particularly down the bottom end of Dane Street, closer to Albany Highway. The cars there get really chaotic. There are people trying to do illegal U-turns at the top of the hill, trying to get in and out of Iceworks Lane and getting into Terminus Lane. There are just, it's a lot of cars and it's really busy and people drive very badly. And then for Bailey Hill, which is a beautiful and so exciting development, as there is increased foot traffic of people walking their dogs or using the beautiful park and its facilities, people come down that stretch of Albany Highway really quickly and there is sort of limited safe places to cross, so it would be really nice if there was a crosswalk in there.
All right, so can I just clarify with you so that we have this on the record? So the third point, you're talking about the pedestrian crossing on Albany Highway.
Yes.
Just out the front of the park. So yeah, we'll just, I think we'll add in Albany Highway.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Just to make it clear, because Bailey Hill isn't a formal name that we use, but it's the pedestrian crossing on Albany Highway adjacent to Elizabeth Bailey Park. So that's where we'll be looking at that for. So we've got that. Thank you. All right. So it's been seconded. So I'm now going to ask, is there any dissent, as in speakers who wish to speak against? Because that will take that course. No, there being no indication of a speaker against, I'm now going to put it to the vote. So all those in favour, please raise your green card. Thank you. And all those who are against, please raise your red card. There being no red cards raised, I declare that is carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, and your second motion?
That the council install a cocky trough at Shepparton Road Reserve to provide a reliable water source for the black cockatoos and other native wildlife.
All right, so this is the one that's on the corner of Oat Street and Shepparton Road, is that right? Is that the one you're talking about?
So it's the bottom end of the cul-de-sac of Shepparton Road. It is right next to Shepparton and the road that Aqualife is on. Is that?
That's not Somerset Street.
Yeah, so it's kind of...
You're talking about the little apron of land that has some trees on it and the really big high voltage power lines?
No, across the street. On the
I know the one you mean now.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
So there's a teeny tiny little playground.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Excellent. We've got that one, and I think that is up on the board now. All right. So I'm seeking a seconder for this motion. Okay. Brooke fouls in the corner faster than anyone else. I think that was an arm to air Guinness Book of World Records there for speed. So I'm now going to formally ask, is there any dissent to this motion? No, there being no dissent, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your green cards. All right, thank you. And all those against, red cards to be raised. I see none. There being no dissent, declare that carried unanimously. So thank you for both of those. If there was another motion, it wasn't pre-submitted, but if that's it, we'll go on. Thank you. Appreciate that indeed. And next pre-submitted motions, Tim Young, please come forward. All right, if I just get you to state your name and suburb, and then we'll start to hear your motions.
Still Timothy Young and still in East Victoria Park.
Excellent. All right, let's hear your first motion. I think it's just come up on the screen now.
Thank you. I motion that Council develops an extreme heat plan that includes actionable options to support residents during periods of excessive heat, including opening the library on Sundays during heat waves, providing free access to Aqualife during heat waves and ensuring 24-hour access to public restrooms, to amend the definition of a heat wave to incorporate humidity as a factor in recognition of increasing humidity levels in Perth as a direct result of climate change, and to investigate options for supporting households in creating climate-safe rooms, including potential funding mechanisms, rebates or partnerships to assist residents in retrofitting their homes.
All right, thank you. Can I seek a seconder for this motion, please? Alex Wallace, you got there first. All right. You're welcome to please speak to your motion. You have up to 3 minutes.
So extreme heat poses a significant and growing risk to the health and wellbeing of the town of Victoria Park residents, particularly vulnerable members of the community such as the elderly, children and those without access to air conditioning. I would also note that as climate change continues to intensify the frequency and severity of heat waves in Perth, the town of Victoria Park currently lacks a dedicated extreme heat plan to guide its response to these kinds of events. This is made particularly troubling because the traditional definition of a heat wave based solely on temperature over the course of 3 days does not account for humidity, which is increasingly relevant in Perth's climate as it evolves due to climate change. For those of you who don't know, currently the BOM only records dry bulb temperature for 3 consecutive days with respect to heat wave definitions, and dry bulb temperature does not include the ability for the human body to dissipate heat via sweating, which is the only method that we have available to us biologically. A comprehensive plan with practical and accessible measures is needed to ensure the town is prepared to protect its residents during these extreme heat events.
All right, thank you. So I formally ask, is there any dissent, as in a speaker against this motion? No, not seeing any speaker against. So on that basis, I'm going to put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your green cards.
Got to bring mine.
That's all right. We'll make sure you're counted at the front. Thank you. Now, those who are against, please raise your red cards. All right, so that's 3 people against and the majority were in favour, so I declare that carried. Thank you. Your next motion, thank you.
Aha. I motion that Council investigates the current standards of repair and upkeep of commercial alleyways and lanes throughout the town, with particular attention to Iceworks Lane and Terminus Lane, develops a framework of incentives and or enforcement mechanisms to compel commercial landowners to maintain their properties to an acceptable standard of repair and upkeep, and to investigate options for improving the amenity and accessibility of the town's alleyways and lanes for the benefit of businesses and the broader community.
All right, thank you. Seeking a seconder for this motion. Bryony Whitten, seconded, thank you. All right, if you'd like to speak to this motion, thank you.
So I think we can all agree that the alleyways and lanes of the town of Victoria Park are in a rapidly declining state, with many commercial landowners failing to maintain acceptable standards of repair and upkeep. This has led a lot of our local business owners, specifically small business owners, to contend with dilapidated structures that leak and flood during any kind of wet weather, often have inaccessible entries, and are regularly visually unappealing surroundings to their business. The absence of any apparent incentive or enforcement mechanism to compel commercial landowners to maintain their properties to an acceptable standard is particularly evident in Iceworks Lane and Terminus Lane, as well as numerous other lanes and alleyways throughout the town. This decline reflects poorly on the town's streetscape and places an unfair burden on the businesses that rely on these spaces.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to ask, is there dissent to this particular motion, as in we're seeking a speaker? No, not seeing any indication of any dissent. So on that basis, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your green cards. And noting that you're in support of that,
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Those who are against, please raise your red card. No one has raised their red card, so there being no against, I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Your final motion.
I motion that the Council investigates the standard of living conditions experienced by the students residing within the town of Victoria Park, including issues of overcrowding, access to air conditioning and other essential amenities, investigates what powers and mechanisms are available to the town to set and enforce a minimum standard of habitability in student housing, and to request a report on the feasibility of partnering with Curtin University and relevant state agencies to improve housing standards and support for the wellbeing of students that are living within the town.
All right, thank you. Before I seek a seconder, can I seek some clarification?
You sure
from you? Part of my assumption is you mean students who are living independently rather than all the many students in the town who live with their parents. Are you wanting us to investigate their living conditions, or only those students of a certain age who might be, say, for example, university students living independently?
I think that the independent living students are probably the priority, although I would say that if we saw how many were living with parents versus how many aren't, that might also be a valuable piece of information to the study.
All right, so only because in fairness to the town staff, they will have to write a report that responds to our capacity to do something like this. So I think it would be helpful for them if we can have you define that first part about experience by students residing independently within the town. So add the word independently after residing.
I'm happy with that.
And then I think that guides the other 2 points. You'd be happy with that?
I agree.
All right, so if we've got that, that's added in. I think that will be helpful. All right, so now I'm going to seek, is there a seconder for this motion? Seconded, Kieran Sylvie, thank you. All right, if you'd like to now speak to your motion, thank you.
So the town of Victoria Park is a home to a significant student population, particularly those attending Curtin University, which sits within the town's borders. I've spoken to a lot of people on this topic, and I've had a lot of people come to me to speak on this topic. And in canvassing the issue, I've received so many reports of students that are living in severely overcrowded conditions, with as many as 7 people sharing a single dwelling. These people often have no access to basic amenities such as air conditioning of any kind. Some also reporting windows that simply do not open, a complete lack of airflow, and as such, the inability to sleep and also to perform well in their studies, which is what I think we all want them to be able to do. Students represent a really valuable and often transient population who may be unaware of their rights or are often reluctant to advocate for themselves, making it incumbent on the town to investigate and act on their behalf.
All right, thank you. I will ask, is there any dissent to this motion? No, not seeking anyone who wishes to speak against, so I'll put it to the vote. Those who are in favour, please raise your green cards. And noting we have another one at the front. All right, thank you. And those who are against, please raise your red card. We have 2 against, so the majority were in favour, so declare that carried. Thank you. Oh, sorry, 3. Sorry, Mr. Zammit, you may need to bring it out because you're completely hidden by the person in front of you. Thank you. Just a matter of sticking it out past the person's head will do. Thank you. All right, so that's been carried. So thank you. Thank you for those 3 motions.
Thank you. I did have a 4th motion, if it would be okay. I didn't submit it earlier because I thought we were only allowed 3, but since you have set the limit at 4, I would like to take full advantage of that today, please.
I don't believe I set any... No, I didn't set a limit on motions.
Oh, there's no limit.
I've never sought to do a limit on motions.
That's a dangerous thing to let me know.
It's 4 questions because, you know, people, if they want to bring motions, they want to bring motions. But given that you're already up, and I do have some other people on the list who've got some motions, but we've certainly got time to get through them, and noting that some people took their names off my list. But if you've got another one and you have it ready, it's only a question of how long it takes our minute secretary to be able to type it.
I will read it
so
slowly.
It can be displayed. Thank you.
I motion that the council implement pedestrian priority infrastructure treatments at the following locations.
We might need to get you to slow at that point because that's that's a good tongue twister, isn't it? Pedestrian priority
infrastructure treatments.
Infrastructure treatments. And you said in the following locations.
In the following locations.
All right, when you're ready for the first location.
Dot point 1. At critical entry points around primary and secondary schools on every side of the school parcel. I can repeat that if you wish. At critical entry points around primary and secondary schools on every side of the school parcel. Point number 2, within activity centres at every 100 metres along key parts of Albany Highway. And point number 3, along higher order roads to provide at least one safe pedestrian priority mid-block crossing, including, but not limited to, Berwick Street, Kent Street, Archer Street, and Mint Street. Do you want to repeat that last one? Along higher order roads to provide at least one safe pedestrian priority mid-block crossing.
We think we have it.
You've done very well, and I tend my apologies.
That's all right. We're going to. Was there another point?
No.
Oh, okay, good. We're about to bring that up on the screen now.
Nailed it.
Very swift reading there. All right, that's good. But not limited to. Yep. All right. Is there a seconder for this motion? Hayley Casarotto. Thank you. All right, if you'd like to speak to this motion, thank you.
So I'm sure we were all very excited in August last year when Main Roads Australia, or West Australia, revised their application and technical guidelines for pedestrian crossing facilities, or D42-590607. The reason that I bring this up is that under the new guidelines, we are able to revise how we've determined where and when we can put pedestrian priorities, especially the increased frequency at which you can put zebra crossings or wombat crossings down on high access roads. So I would like to advocate for the town to pursue an aggressive strategy on implementing some of these strategies in the motion. I think this is a really important opportunity for the town of Victoria Park to make positive revisions, to use these positive revisions, to make our roads safer for the whole community. Keep it nice and short.
All right, thank you. So is there any dissent to this proposal? Yep, so we have an indication of dissent. So on that basis, I'm going to ask you if you could vacate the chair, and I'm going to ask if Monique Field would like to come forward and speak against this motion.
So as a teacher of 39 years, just about to retire, I just thought I'd put that in there before we went too far. We live in Pinedale Street, right opposite Millen Primary School, and I don't think that on every single parcel of that school they need a crossing. We are terrorised by parents on a daily basis with abuse, with parking across our driveway, with parking on our verge, with screaming over our fence when we ask them not to block our verge, and we want to create more hazards? Definitely not in my book. Children can walk from one side of the school. They can have one crossing. What about consultation with residents for a start? We also paid $1 million for our house, and it is continually compromised by poor behaviour, by poor implementation of parking rules, and everything that is associated with that. And I know that I've got 2 or 3 other people in my row who are experiencing the exact same thing as my husband and I are. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Are there any other speakers against? No. In that case, I'll invite Tim Young to come back and give the right of reply to what we just heard.
Thank you. And I am deeply empathetic of people who do live around the school. As an educator myself, I also have to deal with aggravated parents who make their opinions very loud and clear to you when they don't like something, and it can be incredibly frustrating. However, I don't think that the addition of pedestrian priority crossings will change in any way, shape or form the amount of people who are attempting to park in that area. What it does provide is a safe place for students to cross the road, and also just a reminder for cars to maybe slow down and keep an eye out on those students. It's a visual reminder. It is also a legal requirement for cars to give way to students who are crossing at that point, which does also provide them some legal protections and safety should the very, very unfortunate instance of an accident occur.
All right. Thank you for that. All right. We'll now put this to the vote. So all those who are in favour of the motion, please raise their green card. And thank you. And those who are against, please raise a red card. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, might have to call for the numbers. Could just get those with the red cards to pop them up again so I'm clear. I get 11 against, but I had recorded 15 for. Is that the number that you had? So there were 15 in favour and 11 against, so I declare that is carried. Thank you. All right, thank you for that. So that was the last of your motions, Tim, thank you. It's now going back to the list of people who informed the council liaison officer tonight that they have a motion, starting with Graham Firstat. And I apologise, it was a long time since I called your name, and then there was a whole pile of pre-registered motions sitting
Apology
here.
accepted.
So, sorry about that. Thank you.
Mine's a very quick one, and it's administrative, so it won't take long.
And if we could just get you to go a little slow with the reading out so our minute secretary can capture it, thanks.
That the
Sorry, we seem to have lost the microphone. You're able to bring it back.
That the electors request council to consider reducing the CEO's delegated authority to $250,000 per individual expenditure.
Is that the sum total of it? Yep. All right. Yep. Okay. Thank you. We'll just see if we can get that brought up on the screen before I call for a seconder. All right, I think it's just be coming up on the screen in 1 second. There it is. All right. Is there a seconder for this motion, please? Yes. If I could just get your name, please.
Terry McEwen.
All right.
McEown. Victoria Park.
All right, thank you. It's been seconded. If you would like to speak to your motion, you have up to 3 minutes.
Large expenditures have significant financial implications for ratepayers. Decisions involving amounts above $250,000 should be reviewed and approved by elected representatives who are directly accountable to the community. Prior to 2021, the CEO authorised expenditure on a private development on Burswood Peninsula. The town's own estimate was that this expenditure amounted to $300,000 per year. Yet council was not made aware of that for 2 years. This decision was questionable as it committed public funds to a private estate without council approval. By the time council became aware, it was effectively impossible to back out of the commitment as the work had already been going on for 2 years. This example illustrates how delegated authority can undermine proper governance and expose ratepayers to unnecessary risk. High delegation limits create the potential for extravagant and poorly scrutinised spending without council or community awareness. Reducing the delegation limit ensures that responsibility of major financial decisions rests with the elected council, who are expected to act in the best interests of the community.
All right, thank you. So I'll ask, is there anyone who wishes to speak against this particular motion? Bryony Whitten, if you'd like to come forward, please get you into the speaker's spot.
Hello. It's mostly that I can appreciate that there are probably other measures that you can put in place, but the amount of contracts or things that you would, the undue burden that this would place on administration officers would be astronomical. I don't imagine that there is, sorry, wait for my brain to catch up with the rest of me, wasn't mentally prepared for this. The amount of work that it would create for the amount of those contracts or purchases to have it go back and forth. If you want to talk about government waste, it would be on administration for those sorts of purchases. It'd create an enormous backlog. It would take an unholy amount of time, and it would get in the way of other good governance where you could just put other measures in place.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak against this particular motion? No. On that basis, go back to you. Mr. Furstadt, do you want to close the debate and address by way of right of reply what's just been said?
This motion is not about questioning the CEO, it's about ensuring the ratepayers' funds are managed with proper oversight and accountability. We've seen that prior to 2021, the CEO authorised expenditure up to $300,000 per year on a private development at Burswood Peninsula, and council were not aware of this for 2 years. By the time that this matter came to council, the commitment was already entrenched, leaving little room for oversight or course of correction. This example highlights the risk of high delegated authority. Large expenditures should not be reviewed and approved by the elected. This should be reviewed and approved by the elected council, who are directly accountable to the community. Reducing the CEO's delegated authority limit to $250,000 is a practical, reasonable and responsible step. It ensures that major financial decisions cannot be made without proper scrutiny, improves transparency and restores public confidence in the way ratepayers' funds are managed.
Thanks very much. So now we're going to put it to the vote. All those who are in favour of this motion, please raise your green cards. All right, thank you. And those who are against the motion, please raise your green card, your red cards. Let's get to that time of the night. All right, I count 11 in favour and 11 against. So on that basis, the motion is lost. Did you have another motion?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, okay, thank you. Thanks for your motion. Right, on the next person with a motion on the list, Kieran Sylvie.
Hello, Kieran Sylvie, East Victoria Park.
Whenever you're ready, we'll hear your motion.
My motion is to, 1, the CEO to bring a report to Council investigating the use of existing town facilities, the repurposing of underutilised town space, or the creation of new facilities to offer a space for live music performances.
Might get you to reread that, especially given you said that that was the first part. Just want to be able to make sure the minute secretary can get that. So could I get you to read through that again, please, so we can double check what we've got?
The CEO to bring a report to Council investigating the use of existing town facilities, the repurposing of underutilised town space, or the creation of new facilities to offer a space for live music performances.
All right, next part.
2, investigation of available options to fund insurance costs for this space to make sure live music is accessible and affordable for all. One more time, yeah.
One more time.
Investigation of available options to fund insurance costs for this space to make sure live music is accessible and affordable for all.
Yep. Carry on if there's more.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. Excellent. All right. Well, I think we may have that. And we'll just, if we can, give it a moment to be able to bring it up onto the screen before I seek a seconder and to make sure that we captured everything. So probably need to tidy up the grammar a little bit. So if you can go to the word in the first line where it says use of existing, delete the word of, and delete the word apostrophe for town. So it just reads the use of existing town facilities, plural, or the repurposing of underutilised with a D, town spaces. So you'd be deleting of between underutilised and town, and deleting the apostrophe after town, and adding an S onto the end of spaces. And then there's a little bit of change needs to be made to point 2. So it says investigation of available options to fund insurance costs for, I think you said these spaces, these spaces to make sure live music is accessible and affordable for all. So we just tidy that up a little bit. While we just do that, sorry, Jerry Pruitt, did you have a question? You can't see it?
Live music at the end of 1. It says the live music.
Oh, yes, offer spaces for live music performances. Yep, so we just need to delete the. Yep, we can take care of that. Thank you, well spotted. Yep, that looks like that's all done. All right. Okay, so is there a seconder for this motion? Bryony Witten, thank you. All right, if you'd like to speak to your motion, you have up to 3 minutes.
Okay. Hello, my name's Kieran Sylvie. I live in Westminster Street in East Victoria Park, and I've lived there for most of my life after coming down from Geraldton. I'm a young leader for the town and an intersectional advocate, one of those sections being live and local music. Perth has a very vibrant local music scene, and that's made almost cornered into performing into solely the CBD and at bars that aren't accessible for all, or frankly cannot always afford to pay artists a good fee due to insurance and other costs needed for this. Insurance for live music can make venues decide against hosting musicians, not always as a choice that is wanted to be made, but a choice that is made for traders to keep their businesses alive. There are currently no venues that are known and serve as third places solely for live music in our town, and to not take advantage of our amazing community and our amazing location to give opportunity for musicians to play and our residents, as well as people visiting the town, to be able to have live music closer and more accessible to us would be a mistake.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to ask, is there any dissent to this motion, a speaker who would wish to speak against? Not seeing any speaker against, so I'm going to put it to the vote. Those who are in favour, please raise your green cards. Keep those up. Thank you. And those who are against, please raise your red cards. I see 1 against, so the majority were in favour, so declare that is carried. Thank you. Did you have another motion? That was it? All right, thank you. Thanks for putting forward that motion. So next on the list, Marilyn Lindley. No, you're going to withdraw? Okay, all right, thank you. There was nobody else left on my list. Is there anyone in the public gallery who wishes to move a motion? Mr. Maxwell, please come forward.
Thanks, Mayor. I forgot to put it on the list. Vince Maxwell, Vic Park. So the motion reads that the electors request council to reaffirm its commitment to transparency and good governance by making publicly available.
I'm just going to slow you down a
Okay.
moment, Mr. Maxwell, so the minutes secretary can keep up.
I thought he was doing shorthand. Do you want me to reread it?
No, please continue.
So where do you get up to? Publicly available, the external auditors' audit management letters.
Yep.
For the past 2 financial years. And by publishing future audit management letters alongside the town's annual report. What was it? You missed that bit? So for the past 2 financial years and by publishing future audit management letters alongside the town's annual report. And there's one more line, and that council report annually on progress in addressing any issues identified by the auditor.
Just double check, was there anything further in the wording of that, Mr. Maxwell? It's not up yet. We're just
No,
double checking that we've. Is there a part 2 to it, or
No,
that's
it.
just it? Yep. Okay. All right, that's just about to come up on the screen, but I think we have it, but we'll just get you to have a look at it, Mr. Maxwell, when it pops up. There you go.
This the last line, it's issues rather than just singular, but just put an S on the end of issue would be good.
Yep, we can do that. Jerry Pruitt, you have a question? Or you've got something to point out?
Yeah, it should be identified rather than identify in that last line.
Yes, any issues plural identified by the auditor? Yep. And while we're at it, alongside is one word. All right, I think it's just about to update now. Yep, there you go, it's updated. Happy with that, Mr. Maxwell?
Yep, looks good.
Yep. All right, can I seek a seconder, please, for this motion? Sam Zammit, thank you. All right, Mr. Maxwell, if you'd like to speak to your motion, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. So the annual audit report includes the auditor's opinion on the financial statements, but it does not include the auditor's audit management letters, which contain the detailed findings about weaknesses in internal controls and governance. The published auditor's opinion is only 3 pages long, yet there are a further 9 pages of audit findings that ratepayers are not allowed to see. So prior to 2024, these letters were publicly available, and it's only in recent years that the town has chosen to keep them hidden. In 2024, the auditors reported a significant issue involving the repeated overriding of procurement controls on 992 occasions, totalling $10.9 million. The town's responses to questions from the community indicate that this practice may still be occurring. If the town is confident in its financial management, there should be no reason that these letters cannot be published. This motion simply asks Council to reaffirm its commitment to transparency and allow ratepayers to see the full audit findings. In the auditor's own words in the letter that's in the actual annual report, and I'll quote, "The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentation, or the override of internal control." So these are matters that are covered in the management's letter and not in the report that's in the annual report. So this motion, as I said, is simply asking Council to reaffirm its commitment to transparency and allow ratepayers to see the full audit findings. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Maxwell. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against this motion? Nope, there aren't speakers who wish to speak against, so I'll put it to the vote. All those who are in favour of the motion, please vote with your green card. And those, thank you, who are against, vote with your red cards. Just get confirmation. I'd recorded 6 votes in favour and 10 votes against, but my counters may have different numbers. You had 7. Okay, so 7 votes in favour and 10 votes against, so I declare that is lost. Is there anyone else who has a motion that they wish to bring forward? No, there being no other motions, that concludes the business of this meeting of the electors. As I had mentioned at the outset, a report will be presented to Council at likely the next ordinary Council meeting in April of this year, which addresses the administration's response to the many motions that were passed tonight, and set out a pathway forward for Council to consider and subsequently vote on. So what that does mean, I would encourage those who moved a motion and whose motion was passed you get another opportunity to come to an ordinary council meeting when you see that report that addresses your motion and suggests what council should do. There's a chance for you to come and ask questions about it, make statements about it, email your elected members and tell them what you'd like to see happen, particularly if the administration's response is not what you were hoping for to see. And there's still an opportunity then for you to basically make persuasive argument to elected members that they should be following through on the motions that you have raised, irrespective perhaps of some of the advice from the administration. But those are further opportunities for you to engage with this process going forward. So on that basis, can I say thank you very much to everyone who came along, all of the electors. They were a great number of motions that were various and interesting, each and every one of them. So thank you so much. I think that's been a really well worthwhile exercise. And hopefully for those of you who joined us beforehand for the community mingle, you enjoyed the opportunity to meet some of your fellow electors, meet some of your elected members of council, have a chat to some of the town staff. And we look forward to seeing you perhaps participating in future council meetings or coming to next year's annual meeting of electors. So thank you so much, and thank you to those who joined us on live streaming and were watching the proceedings. To the town's administration, thank you very much for helping me to facilitate tonight's meeting of electors. And at 8:43 p.m. we are adjourned. Thank you.